Good evening, friends. Thank you for joining us today for the very important topic of My Rotary reporting for Rotaract. My name is Taylor Huey. I'm a dual member of Rotary and Rotaract in Michigan in the United States, and currently serve as the Executive Director for Ascension Rotaract Network, MDIO. I am so thrilled to be kicking off this first My Rotary training session. I would like to begin by thanking you on behalf of the North American MDIO's Ascension Rotaract Network, Big West Rotaract, and Rotaract Canada, as well as the Zone 34 Rotaract Committee for lending your time, commitment, and passion for Rotaract. As many of you know, the Elevate Rotaract movement has brought many exciting changes to the world of Rotaract, as well as to the world of Rotary. One of these upcoming changes is the introduction of membership dues for Rotaractors, which will be determined based on the Rotaract Club information stored in the My Rotary database. Our goal for this evening is to share with each of you the importance of ensuring this information is accurate and up to date, as well as walk through a step-by-step guide to ensure you have all of the tools to update your club's information. Our team has received countless questions and training requests on this topic over the last several months, so we are super excited to be sharing this virtual space with each of you this evening. For those that are unable to join us live this evening, we will also be recording this event and sharing it on the Ascension Rotaract Network YouTube channel in the coming days. We encourage each of you to keep an eye on your email and forward the information to anyone in or beyond your district that may find this training useful. We will kick off this evening with an address from past Rotary International President Barry Rassin on Elevate Rotaract and the importance of My Rotary. We will then transition over to Alicia Rodriguez, who will walk us through a step-by-step to update your club and officer information in My Rotary before opening up the virtual room for a Q&A with Rotary International staff support from the membership development team, including Audley Knight and Harris Suffragia. Without further ado, I am honored to welcome past Rotary International President Barry Rassin to share some words on the Elevate Rotaract movement and how it ties into the importance of My Rotary. Barry Rassin served as the president of Rotary International from 2018 to 2019 and has been instrumental in creating a platform for Rotaract at the club, zone, and international levels. Perhaps a lesser known fact about Barry is that he declined an invite to join Rotary the first time that he was asked because the members were, quote, way too much older than he was, which I suspect was a precursor to his passion for elevating Rotaract and creating a space for young leaders and change makers within Rotary. Barry Rassin currently serves as the director of the Doctors Hospital Health System in Nassau, Bahamas, following a stellar 38-year career part of the group. And with that, I am excited to pass the virtual stage over to past Rotary International President Barry.
Thank you so much, Taylor. Really appreciate that kind introduction. I wish I could smile like you smile all the time. It's just so engaging, and I appreciate that. We're here tonight to talk about Rotaract and where we've come, the elevation of Rotaract. In my time in Rotary, and I've been in Rotary for a lot of years, I have never seen a change like this move as quickly as it has. For some of you who were in your 20s, you're probably thinking this was slow, but actually in Rotary, this was fast. Back in 2019 at the Council on Legislation, we passed an item on the council with a 3/4 majority of 528 district governors from around the world to change Rotaract from a program of Rotary to being a member of Rotary. So now Rotaract clubs and Rotary clubs are members of Rotary International. That's a first. That's fantastic. That was a start, though, to what's a much bigger change that needs to take place. You're adding one on tonight, but we've come a long way since that day. But I want to remind you that while we've made all these changes and Rotaract is in some ways now equal and will continue to grow in equality with Rotary clubs, and equality only means that we're able to have access to the same things in Rotary, whether it's by policy, by awards, whatever, but we have that equality that we didn't have before. But I want to remind you of the Rotaract value proposition, because this kind of goes to the heart of who Rotaract is, and we don't want to lose that. Let's not change the innovation, the dynamics, the enthusiasm that Rotaractors have around the world. So I want to read this, forgive me, but Rotaract is a membership experience for young adults who prefer to grow their service, their professional and leadership skills through a fun and inclusive near-peer network of like-minded people of action. I might refer back to that once or twice as we talk, but always keep in mind that that value is critical to who Rotaract is and needs to continue to be. Now, back in 2019, the Rotary International Board, now that change has been made, they started putting policies in place and setting goals. And they put a goal to increase the number of Rotaractors reported to Rotary by 100%. What does that mean? That means we need every Rotaractor to put your name into My Rotary. And the exciting thing is tonight, you're going to get to see exactly how to do that so you can make sure that we do it. Now, we will be increasing and improving My Rotary for all of us, and that'll come along sometime this year. But meantime, you got to get your names into My Rotary. We want to also increase the number of reported Rotaractors who join Rotary clubs. Because now, as Taylor, we have a number of people who are in both, and we need to figure out how to track that information. Our computer system has trouble doing that right now. So let's figure that out. We've got to do it. And the goal that I just love is that we need 1 million Rotaractors by the year 2029. 1 million. We're moving to having as many Rotaractors as we do Rotarians. And that's what we need in Rotary. We need that ability to balance our youth and our new ideas with our older and experienced ideas so that we end up with the best decisions we could possibly make. Now, already you're able as Rotaract clubs to start Rotary clubs of your own. The ideal is for a Rotaractor to join a Rotary club when you're ready. Absolutely. But some of you look out there and you say, well, that Rotary club isn't exactly what I'm looking for. I want a more exciting, more fun, less expensive, better times. So now I challenge you, join that Rotary club anyway and help them to be more relevant to today's young professionals. But if you don't have that courage, then start a new Rotary club and start a track so that your Rotaract friends can all join a Rotary club as they're ready. That's really important because the idea here is that you understand Rotary, you know Rotary, you love the service that we do, you love the fact that we're making the world a better place. You want to be a part of that. You don't always want to be a part of it the way some Rotary clubs are. So you need to help us to bring your energy and ideas into making the world a better place. That means you need to stay in Rotary and not just come in Rotaract, love it, and then leave and do something else. Now, we also changed the age policy. The board of directors said, okay, we're going to take away the maximum age. So it's no longer 18 to 30, it's 18 and above. But I want to remind you that the intent is that you join Rotaract from 18 to 30. Now, some places around the world are getting confused by this and are concerned the Rotarians who are 60 are going to join Rotaract clubs. Well, no, that's not the intent. The intent is you join 18 to 30, but you know, everybody at 30 isn't ready to make that move into a Rotary club. So we want to be sure that you're ready. It might be 31, 35, whatever it is, and the Rotaract clubs can make that decision themselves. Some have already changed the maximum age to 35. Some have left it at 30. Some have just eliminated it. That's great. Again, that gives you the ability to think for yourselves as what is appropriate in your particular circumstances. And that's really important. But remember, please, it's about joining from 18 to 30. It's about staying until you're ready to move into a Rotary club. And you know about the dues. University-based Rotaract clubs, $5 per person per year. Again, some people, when I talk, they say, oh, that's per month. We can't afford that. I understand. It's per year. And for community-based Rotaract, it's $8 per member per year. But in order to do that, we need to know who you are. We need to have every Rotaractor in the system so we're able to track that information. But even more than that, we need you in the system so that We can communicate with you. We can talk to you and remind you about what Rotary is doing around the world, about what our goals are, our ambitions, and all the policies that we might have. But we also need that communication link so you can tell us how you think. You would then have access to Rotary directory and can access and message Rotarians and Rotaractors around the world. That's a great opportunity to share ideas and to learn from each other, which we need to do. So we need you to get on that. And tonight, of course, you're going to hear a lot more about that. Now, the Rotary Foundations also changed their policies. You are now eligible as Rotaractors to be international hosts or local hosts and can get a global grant for yourselves. Remember, though, that you need to be certified as a Rotaract Club to do that, just like a Rotary Club. This is no different. So we need to be sure that you're hooking up to My Rotary so that you can do that. Get certified. The Learning Center has a great program. Just go on the Learning Center, let the club do it, and get certified. And then you have the opportunity to be able to get grants. And once you've done that, you've got some experience and you start doing more and more for Rotary and for the Rotary Foundation, then you're also now eligible for all the awards that Rotary International has, whether it's service above self or the citation for meritorious service and distinguished service from the foundation. We want to recognize individuals around the world. Now, remember, part of this means that we have to change our terminology. We've been talking about Rotarians. We are changing the bylaws and the Constitution to change that verbiage. So we stop referring to Rotarians, but start referring to Rotary members. Rotaractors, Rotarians, we're all Rotary members. We're on the same page. And by having that reference, then it shows you that we want to be doing the same things together. And again, we need to make sure we have your information in order to do that. Now, as we move in that direction, we need to think about what else we need to do as an organization. And some of the enhancements we want to be able to make. We want you to be able to search for other members, as I mentioned. We want you to be integrated into that club search process as Rotaract clubs so that other countries can reach out to you and get you to host or partner with them on various projects. The profile pages will change, and what will also be enabled is the ability for each district to change what they're doing. So the district dashboard will get an update to include Rotaract, and there'll be a complete refresh on Rotaract administration so that you have total equal access. Now, I keep in mind that this is done really well for policy change. Now we're changing the technology, so that'll be equal. The equality is there. And again, equality of access to information, access to each other. But we still have to change our culture. There's still cultural changes both in Rotaract clubs and Rotary clubs. Now, I've asked many Rotary clubs around the world to just step back and ask yourselves, are you relevant to young professionals? When a 30-year-old comes and looks at your club, do they want to join or do they walk away? Like I did when I was 30. I walked away. I had nowhere to go. So every Rotary club needs to just rethink what they're doing and making sure that they are relevant. And one thing they can do is start satellite clubs to kind of get their feet wet, get it in the water, start 8 members. You could start a satellite club, all 18 to 30-year-olds, and guess what? They could grow and slowly become a Rotaract club, or they could grow and become a Rotary club. Either way, that's fine. So that works really well. Rotaract clubs, you also need to think about your relationship with your Rotary clubs. You know, it's all about relationships. Too many Rotary clubs started a Rotaract and walked away, and that was wrong. And now both Rotary and Rotaract need to get together and enhance your relationships, get to know each other. And I guarantee you, if you get to know each other, you're going to want to join Rotary when you're finished with Rotaract because you know them, you're comfortable. My Rotaract club in my little country in the Bahamas and Rotary Club East Nassau has 100% transition into my Rotary club because we know each other. Some Rotarians go to Rotaract Club. Many Rotaractors come to our Rotary Club. They even run our Rotary meeting once or twice a year. We play volleyball together. We play softball together. Hey, guess what? We beat them too as a Rotary Club, but that's okay. But I digress. The important thing is to think a little differently, that we need to get all this done. Tonight, you have a great opportunity that many Rotaractors around the world haven't had yet. So soak it up, learn how to do it, get involved, join My Rotary, tell us who you are so we can get our numbers straight. Right now, we think we have 200,000 to 250,000 Rotaractors. On the other hand, we know we have 1,207,000 Rotarians because they're in My Rotary. We need to do the same. And we've got to change the terminology even with membership. Stop talking about 1.2 all the time. We're 1.4 million members around the world because Rotaract clubs and Rotary clubs are members of Rotary International. I am so proud of what Rotaractors are doing around the world. I know I'm a couple minutes over, but I just want to tell you one quick story. Look up what the Rotaract clubs in Europe are doing for the refugees from Ukraine. It's absolutely outstanding. They are helping the millions of people who've had to flee from the Ukraine. These are Rotaract. Okay, this isn't just Rotary. Rotary is doing their job too, but we're all out there as members of Rotary making our world a better place. We can do more of that. We need to know who you are. Make sure you follow through tonight and do what we need you to do. Thank you all so much for what you do, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And I'll be here for a few minutes to answer any questions that might come through in the chat. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Barry, for those words of wisdom. We certainly are approaching that 1 million Rotaractor goal very, very quickly / very slowly. But hopefully after tonight, we'll be one step closer to actually having those numbers accurate and being closer to elevating Rotaract through the Rotary world. So as Barry mentioned, he will be staying on for a little bit. So if you do have questions, feel free to send them to him in the Q&A box. He'll be happy to answer those virtually for a few minutes here. But Barry, again, thank you so much. We do so appreciate your advocacy and support for Rotaract. This is such an important time in the transition and elevation of Rotaract, and it's important that we all as leaders do our part to make that transition as seamless as possible. So next up, it is my pleasure to introduce Alicia Rodriguez. Alicia currently works in the event industry in Atlanta, Georgia. She is past president of the Rotaract Club of Atlanta and past DRR of District 6900. Alicia will be leading us through a step-by-step guide on how to update your Rotaract Club information in My Rotary. So I encourage you to take notes and pay close attention, but do not worry. If you do miss any steps or have questions, we will leave some time for Q&A at the end with Alicia and some of our Rotary International staff members. So fellow Rotarians and Rotaractors, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Alicia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. As Barry mentioned, this information and gathering this information is extremely important in helping and elevating Rotaract. So you joining us tonight is super impactful in helping us reach that goal. So just to go ahead and get started here, I'd like for you to keep in mind that this is not a sandbox environment. We're doing our best to take screenshots and provide as live of an experience as we possibly can in order to walk you through as you would when you start to go to enter this information. Things might look a little different. As Barry mentioned, they are making some changes in My Rotary, but overall the content is going to be very similar. So go ahead and make sure you pay attention, take notes, whether you're joining us here live or watching this recorded later. We thank you so much for your participation here today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing we're going to have you do is go to your favorite web browser. For the purposes of this, we're using Google, and we're going to type in my.rotary.org. You can also type in myrotary.org, but I find it a little bit faster if you add that little dot in between my and Rotary. And once you hit go, you're going to see here on your first landing page, which is My Rotary, and you'll have a couple of options for signing in. You can either choose up here or down here, but you'll also see that there's a register right next to sign in. So once you are assigned and actually input it into the database, and you don't necessarily have a My Rotary official login, you can utilize your email address that we input here today to get yourself a My Rotary login. And that will make a little bit more sense once we kind of go through the process. So for me, I already have a My Rotary login, so I'm going to go click the sign in page. Oh, sorry, sign in page, and we're going to just use a fictitious email here. myrotary.org. And we're going to click sign in. And once you sign in, this is your landing page for My Rotary. Here you can, explore the My Rotary spotlight. You can see what clubs around the world are doing. I implore you that once you have My Rotary access, that you kind of go through and you click through all the opportunities and information that's available to you as a member, whether it be the Learning Center, media relations, anything like that. You can learn a lot from this platform. So go ahead and, play around with it once you get My Rotary login, and learn some more information from here. So we're going to start here by clicking manage, and through manage, you're going to look for this club and district administration. And then from there, there'll be this club administration. Now your landing page here might look a little bit different. I myself am also the president of My Rotary Club. So this is actually what I see, because I have my Rotary Club that I'm also in charge of. But for you, what you're going to look for is this Rotaract here, this Rotaract information here. To make this a little bigger, what we're going to be going through today is we're going to learn how to add, edit, remove a Rotaract member. We're going to learn how to input club officers, as well as update club data. But before I move into that, I did want to mention, I am the president of the Rotaract Club of Atlanta Metro. And as president, we are a club sponsor of the Rotaract Club of Atlanta. So if you do not have current access to My Rotary, you can share this presentation with any member of the officers, the club officers of your sponsor club, and they should be able to go through the same motions that we're going to walk through today to get you into the system, so that way you can update moving forward. I would like to remind you that this is not the responsibility of the Rotary Club sponsor to keep this information up to date. It is you as either a club president, club officer, to make sure that this information is most accurate and most accurate in the system. So to get started, we're going to go and click here to add, edit, or remove Rotaract members. And here, as I mentioned, we're utilizing the Rotaract Club of Atlanta as a base, just because this is the data that I had access to. We went ahead and blacked out some of this information, but here you'll see your current member list. If this hasn't been updated in a while, you might see some very outdated information, which is why it's so important to go in here and go through this process and put true members of your club in the system. So we're going to go ahead and get started with adding a new Rotaractor. And the first thing you're going to see here is it's going to ask you to search by an email address or search by a name to see if this person is currently already in the system. So for this example, we're going to go ahead and use me just to see, if I'm already in the system. And once you hit submit, you'll see down here that I am actually already in the RI database. I am a member of the Rotary Club of Atlanta Metro, as well as the Rotaract Club of Atlanta. So then let's use a fictitious email here. We're going to use membernew@gmail.com. And once we search this member, you'll see that no search criteria was found for this particular member. And you'll then have the opportunity to click continue. Once you click continue, it'll allow you the opportunity to start inputting this member's information. So again, this is a fictitious member, so we're going to just use their first name is New, and we're going to scroll on down and then type in the information that we do know. Their last name is Member. We have their gender. Here are the options that you have for their gender identity. And then you have the option to click whether their email address is going to be personal or business. You could do that accordingly, whether it's their personal or their business email address. For this member, their email address is member.new@gmail.com. And here you'll also be able to select their language. And all these languages are available to use depending on what their preference is. From there, we go into adding their mailing address. So we're going to pretend it's 1234 Rotary Way. And they're going to be located in Atlanta because that's the club we're working with. And their zip code. We scroll down. And then here you'll be able to select your country and whether your state, province, territory. Because Georgia is in the United States, it populates accordingly for all future examples. Because again, I'm from Georgia and that was the easiest way to look at it. But of course, when you go to select your own country, you should be able to see your own province, state, territory, whatever that may be. And then from there, you go in and click the member admission date. So this is the date that the member was initiated into your club. Once you've filled out all that information and you click save, that member then populates here in My Rotary. Keep in mind that this is just for example purposes. These names are actually going to be populated in alphabetical order by first name. So if you don't necessarily see them popped up at the very first member here, you might want to scroll down and they might be alphabetically listed. But for the purposes of this example, I wanted to have them populate here. And then My Rotary also assigns a member ID. This is automatic. You don't have to worry about this for your purposes for assigning. This process is automatic for them. But I do also want to stress the importance of that email address. The email address that you put into My Rotary is what gives the member the opportunity to create a My Rotary login. And they will go in, when they click My Register, they'll be able to utilize the email address that you inputted into their system to create a My Rotary login. And then again, once the member is registered into My Rotary, they can update their address, phone number, any additional information they'd like to include beyond what we've already included here. So let's say, for example, editing member info. Again, stressing that email address is so important because that's what ultimately links everything together. So we're going to go ahead and utilize an example. Going back to our new member that we just added here, let's say, we didn't input the email address correctly. So we're going to want to go and click here where it says edit contact information. Automatically, this populates here. You see this, the member's name up at the top. Here's the data that we inputted previously on the previous page. And when you scroll down, you'll see the email address. This is what we're going to work on today. But again, if you need to edit or add or make any changes to any other contact information for this member, you can go through and make those changes. But because the email address is so important, we want to go through and make an edit to this. So here's the member address that we have, and we're going to click edit. And then we're going to type in the new email address that we want them to go by. We're going to pretend that we accidentally swapped new and member. And then we're going to click Save Change. Once you do that, it populates again here. That is now their member data. And so that shows correctly. Now, member termination and reinstatement. More so the termination piece is super important. As Barry mentioned, at some point we're going to start, Rotary is going to start billing for Rotaract members. And it is so important to make sure that the information that you have in the system is correct. If this hasn't been updated in years, which in many clubs is the case, you might have extremely outdated information, and therefore you might be paying for members that aren't necessarily active in your club any longer. So that is what we're about to learn here today. So going back to this main screen, again, dealing with this new member that we added. Let's say, for example, they decided to move and they are no longer a member of our Rotaract Club. They're going to join a different one. So for our club, we're going to click terminate. And once we do that, this will pop up the date which the termination occurred, and then the termination reason. This is important just for tracking purposes to showcase as to the reason why that member is being terminated from your club. Here are some of the items that are listed for termination reason. So once you select that, you're going to click terminate. And then now that member is no longer available under your club data. Now let's say you made a mistake and you want, or the member comes back or moves back into your to your district and they want to be a member of your club again and we want to reinstate them. We can go ahead and click reinstate Rotaractor and we're going to search their name. And then you would select the proper country and then hit search. And then here automatically that member populates up here. And we're going to go ahead and click this member that is what we want to, the member we want to reinstate. Their name will populate up here. So you know for sure you've clicked on the correct member. And then you put their new start date. And then once you've done that, you click submit. And now they've repopulated into your member, your member database. So the next thing we're going to go through is updating club data, mailing address and phone number. My Rotary just wants to make sure they understand who to get in contact with or where to send information to, anything that's important. So we'll go ahead and go through what updating club data and mailing address for your club may be. So going back to the main landing page, we're going to go up here to update club data. Once you click that, you'll see here's all the data for your club, the active members, the year it was founded, and then of course the current status, which the Rotaract Club of Atlanta is currently active. So we're going to go through, we're going to scroll down, and here you're going to see the club's permanent mailing address. For this purpose, it would have said, it says add here. So we're going to add a new mailing address. Here it says edit. It should say add, but there was already an address listed here. So I couldn't have that removed, but you'll just look for add if there's not currently an address listed, or you can click edit if you're trying to make that change. So from here, you'll click My Rotary Business. That's the only option for this particular drop-down menu. And then you're going to click and input the information for your Rotary Club, your Rotaract Club. And this club again is in Atlanta. And once you click save, that information will populate here. And then for the phone number, we're going to do something similarly. We're going to click add. You'll have the option to click this as your primary contact information. Again, Rotary Business, you select your country code, which will populate for your particular country, the main code that it dials out. And then we're going to input a phone number. And once we click Save Changes, that then goes and populates in the phone section. Now we're going to go through and update club data, email, and website. This information is important for Club Finder. So if you go and you're looking for a Rotaract Club in your specific area, you can actually go to a Rotaract Club Finder, type in your zip code, your country, all the information, the day of the week that you're looking for a club to meet. You hit search and it'll populate all the available clubs in your area that are meeting on the specific criteria that you have selected. So updating this club data is important for that reason. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So going back to your main page, we're going to scroll down and we're going to go through, click adding email address. Your email address. You'll go ahead and add your email address. And this is important, especially when we start sending invoices. This information is going to be utilized to send those member invoices to your club. So make sure that there's also an email address attached for your club. If you wanted to add a website, okay. And then once you've done that, you can click, you scroll back up to the main portion of the page and click back to the club information. Now here's, sorry, I misspoke. This is where we're going to start talking about the meeting location. This is the part that's important for the Rotaract Club Finder. I apologize for that. But again, this is important for that ability for your club to be found findable via the Rotaract Club Finder. So back on the main landing page, as you see, here's all that information that we just updated on the previous slides. That automatically updates on the main club administration landing page. For adding meeting details, we're going to click Add Meeting Details. And you're going to start typing in the meeting information. This does have to be in the 24-hour time clock. You'd select the day of the week that your club meets. Again, the 24-hour time clock. And then you can put the meeting place, like if there's an office building or a restaurant or a location that your club meets, you can place that name here. And then you type the address accordingly. We scroll down to continue. This is going to be in Atlanta, the zip code. Once you've filled out all the appropriate information, you're going to click Submit. And then that showcases here. I did want to show you this little screen grab of the club finder that I mentioned earlier. So we searched my zip code within 10-mile distance. And as you see, all that information populated here. And hopefully that will help you in driving additional traffic to your club, an interest in joining your club based on having this data filled out. So the next thing we're going to go through is updating club officers. This is, again, super important because it's the president's responsibility for making sure that the information that is in My Rotary is the latest and greatest information. So if you're not currently listed as the current president of your club and you don't know who is, again, you can go to your Rotary Club sponsor and they should be able to add you as a member and then go into this step of updating you as a club officer. So to do that, we're going to continue down and scroll. And then you'll have this opportunity to add current officer. Once you click that, you're going to see a member list. This will list all your club members as well as their start dates. From there, let's say we're going to want to add member 1 as our club president. Once we click add, you'll see all their data that's located in My Rotary. We're going to add current officer. And we're going to search for Rotaract Club President. You're more than welcome to go through and add all of your club officers, but for the purposes of this, it is just extremely important that there's a Rotaract President designated at all times. So you're going to go ahead and click Rotaract President, and this automatically populates with the start date of this Rotaract year, as well as the end date. And once you've made sure that information is accurate, you click Submit. It'll give you one additional opportunity to make sure that this is correct, or if you want to add more, go back, make additional changes. But for right now, we're just going to click Done. And you would do the same thing for the assigned incoming officer year. It's important, if you know who that officer is now, to go ahead and get them updated in the system, because once July 1 comes around for the next year, that member will then automatically go into the assigned current year officer, and that officer will then have the opportunity to go in and have those administrative privileges. So that way you're not required to have your Rotary sponsor club go back into the system every year to get that updated for you. So if you know that information, definitely fill it out ahead of time. It'll make everything a lot easier to kind of transition from one president to the next. So a couple of key takeaways from today's presentation. Please make sure that a president is reported at all times. The Rotary Club sponsor presidents, and actually that's all Rotary Club officers, have access to view and designated club presidents for their Rotaract clubs. Emails are super, super important, and linking My Rotary account with your club. It's important that that information is the most accurate as possible. And then again, once you have access to My Rotary, then you can explore all the areas to help your club through that main page that we were looking at. And here, feel free to take a screenshot. This information will also be shared, I believe, in the chat of all your MDIOs, where to go to if you have any data issues. You can contact data@rotary.org. If you have general inquiries, you can also contact Rotaract@rotary.org. But again, here is all the contact information. We have Ascension, we have Big West, we have Rotaract Canada, and the Zone 34 committee. Reach out to any of us. We're all willing to help any way that we can. So thank you again for joining us, and we are going to move into the question and answer phase.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the Q&A portion of this event. My name is Luna Vyson, and I'm the Rotaract Specialist for Zones 26 and 27, as well as the Director on the Big West Rotaract team. I'll be serving as a Q&A facilitator this evening, so if you have any questions for the panelists, make sure to put them in the Q&A box, and we'll do our best to get through them as many as possible. I'm also excited to be joined by several wonderful panelists. You've already met Alicia Rodriguez with her very thorough step-by-step walkthrough of My Rotary reporting. Joining Alicia is Audrey Knight and Harris Sofragida, both of whom are Regional Membership Officers, or RMOs, for Rotary International, support staff for the Rotary Membership Development Team. We also have Barry back with us to answer a question. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Barry, for being here, sharing your expertise, answering one last question. Folks are wondering, with some of these changes, will Rotaractors be counted as members of their sponsoring Rotary Club?
Yeah, it's important to appreciate that a Rotaract Club with this change is an independent club. They have their own identity because of this. So as a Rotaract Club, they are not going to be just a satellite of their Rotary Club. They are going to be independent, and they're going to be able to do just everything a Rotary Club can do. Based on a number of questions, the Rotaractors need to appreciate that the intent is going forward that whatever My Rotary does for a Rotary Club, it will do for a Rotaract Club. Now, is that going to happen on day one? Possibly not. We've got to work some of those details out. I don't know some of those answers that are on the Q&A related to that process within My Rotary, because does DAC-DB know how they're going to handle that? I don't know. Hopefully somebody is talking with them so they're prepared for the onslaught. And I also recommend that the Rotaract clubs talk to their district. And if, like in our case, we're on Club Runner, most in the US is on DAC-DB, you might want to be consistent with whatever the district is doing. So that much easier to share information that way, because you're really now a major part of the district and you need to appreciate that as well. So hopefully that answered those questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Barry. We really appreciate you being here tonight. I think you might have to jump off. We know you've got a busy schedule, but we really do appreciate it.
Thank you. All the best. And thank you for a great explanation on My Rotary. Big help for everybody. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That's actually a wonderful tie-in to our next set of questions. We've got a couple different ones about DACDB and Club Runner. So I'm wondering if someone can just explain why we're suggesting that you start with My Rotary for the upcoming changes and speak a little bit to that.
Sure, I'm happy to answer that one. Yes, in general, and going forward, certainly if you utilize a third-party database like Club Runner or DACDB, that will be possible. But to get to that point, you actually need to enable that possibility within My Rotary. And right now, it's not there for Rotaract clubs for you to do automatically. You'd have to actually fill out a form and submit that to data@rotary.org so that they would be able to enable you to use DACDB or Club Runner. You'd basically be saying, yes, we are selecting, our Rotaract Club is selecting one of those or another, and as there are other third-party databases that other parts of the world utilize. As a Rotaract Club, you'd say, yes, we're actively opting into this Rotary International. In the coming months, that will be something you'll be able to do in My Rotary, but for now, it's just much more straightforward to just go into My Rotary and make these updates yourself.
And if I can jump in real quick as well, Harris, thank you so much for that. Part of the discussion with this group is to look at going forward some one-on-one trainings through the MDIOs on specifically DACDB and Club Runner. So look forward to that in the coming months as well.
Yeah, great foreshadowing there for some information we'll be sending out at the end of this. Going along with that, we've had a couple of questions. If a club doesn't have access to their data right now, or maybe it's the first president that's being reported, how does that initial president get access?
I can take that question. So the sponsor Rotary Club currently has the ability to go in and view. Similarly to how I showed on my page as the sponsor president of the Rotary Club of Metro Atlanta, I was able to go in and edit that member data. I could then input the president as a new member and then designate them as club president. And then from there, they have the opportunity to go in and register via the email address that was inputted to then gain access to My Rotary to go through those administration processes.
That's a super important item there.
Yes.
We've also had a couple of questions about university-based clubs. Do you have any tips for how they should handle using a school email address or not? If folks graduate and leave the club, how they can be terminated or moved to a different club? Any suggestions there?
Harris, you want to take that one?
Go ahead.
I can take that one. As Alicia mentioned in the step-by-step process, you have the option to put a business address or a personal address. What we're seeing as a challenge when a Rotaractor from a university-based club, if they leave and they're still linked into My Rotary using their university email address, that can be a challenge. So ideally, if you can use a personal email address, just in case you're graduating and there's no one else to really access that information, updates will also be going to the email address that is keyed in My Rotary. So if you're no longer affiliated with that university or that college, or even for a community-based Rotaractor, if you use your work email address and you're no longer affiliated or you change jobs, correspondence and to get into My Rotary may be a challenge because you maybe not have access anymore because you're using an email address that's outdated. So ideally, try to use a personal email address that will follow you whatever your path takes you, whether you're no longer going to a college or university or you've changed jobs.
Yeah, great tips. Always good to use that personal email address. We also have a couple of questions where folks are trying to add new members who might have been part of a previous club and how they should handle that.
I can take that one. I apologize for passing on the last as I was putting in information on that data form in the chat box. It would be the same way that a Rotary club might do it. So while many people would think of it as transferring clubs, and that's commonly how it's referred to in the Rotary world, you're actually ending your membership in your former club and beginning a membership in your new club. So you'd have to have if you're already online, if you're already in the database with a record with your former club, have your former club terminate that record, end your membership with that former club. Then 24 hours later, you can create it with your new club. Cannot happen the same day. The system won't take the same date. So it's got to be at least the next day that you're added to your new Rotaract Club.
Great. Thank you so much for answering that. I see we have a question here in the chat. Their club has been deactivated, but they have restarted it up. Can their sponsor get them access?
Yes, they should be able to do that. Contact Rotaract at rotary.org about the process. It should be fairly straightforward, but it shouldn't be that hard to reactivate the club.
Excellent. That's super helpful. In a similar note, we have a couple of questions. I think it might be helpful to just re-clarify who exactly can update this data.
Sure. So the sponsor Rotary Club, any club officers that's listed for that sponsor Rotary Club can have access to updating that data. And then once the club officer as club president is designated, that person then has access to updating that data.
Likewise, if I can add, Alicia, just to clarify what you said earlier during your presentation also, once the Rotaract Club officers are reported, then it doesn't have to be the club president or the club secretary, but any of the reported Rotaract Club officers could help update the database. So you can share that burden. Lighter hands make light work.
Exactly. That's definitely a good way to do it. We also have a question if Rotaractors will automatically be listed in the alumni list once they've been reported.
Yes, they are going to show up. So if you are listed as a Rotaractor in our database, you will start showing up. But that also leads to the importance of creating a My Rotary account, because that way you can update your contact information. Because if you were reported, say, years ago, you've been a Rotaractor for the last 10 years, the contact information that might have been entered for you is 10 years old. You might have had a couple different addresses, or you might have changed your cell phone number, or you have a new email address. Unless that is updated, of course, the Rotarians pulling that report are going to see your out-of-date information, and they're not going to be able to reach you. So that's why it's really important to also create a My Rotary account. So we have your latest information on file that feeds into the alumni reports, and you can be included by Rotary clubs and districts in alumni activities.
Very important. Yeah, great tips. I think we have time for just one more question here. Someone is asking that their club has changed their name and university to community. Are they able to make updates to their club in the same place they might be able to make updates to the members?
That is a really interesting question. For that, I would actually write to, in the immediate term, write to Rotaract at rotary.org and ask for that. I think in the long term, that's actually going to go to our club and district support staff, CDS at rotary.org. But in the next couple of months, I would direct that to Rotaract at rotary.org.
Excellent. All right, and I see that that has been dropped in the chat. We've also been given 5 more minutes, so we'll make sure to answer a couple more questions here.
Luna, if I can shoot one out that I saw it pop up earlier, and I just wanted to clarify. There was a question about insurance. The insurance fees. So during the meeting, I communicated with one of my colleagues who's working on the issue that the rates for North American clubs have not been established yet, but they will be before the initial dues payment requested 1 January 2023. When they will be announced shortly before that time, and they will be good for the entire year, just like the Rotaract member dues covering the whole year. The insurance piece will also cover the whole year, but that is coming. So watch for further communications from RI regarding that.
And just to follow up on that, Harris, that's why it's so important to have the information in My Rotary.
Yes.
So that when updates like this are happening, we can actually, reach out to you. And the flip side, from the insurance from the US-based side for university-based clubs. Rotary believes that the clubs should maintain liability insurance for all activities that's appropriate for our geographic region. But university-based club may wish to consult their university administration regarding any possible coverage under the university's insurance program. So for university-based and college-based club, check with your university on that.
Great point.
Yeah, great tips there. We've also had a couple of questions. If the club doesn't have a mailing address, they're either an e-club, they meet in several locations, they're maybe meeting virtually right now, what should they put for that?
Best practice, I would say, would be to choose a club officer and utilize that club officer's mailing address or contact information for that.
Yeah, great tip. We've spoken a lot tonight about moving from Rotaract to Rotary, and someone is wondering for dual members, how does that work in the reporting as they move or are in both clubs?
I personally haven't seen any issue with it because as I showed in the example, am a member of a Rotaract Club of Atlanta, as well as the Rotary Club of Atlanta Metro. So it just shows me as I'm a member of both. And Harrison, oddly, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong in any of that.
That's good.
Excellent. Yeah, dual membership is a great option. We've seen a couple questions about the recording being available. It will be available. It'll be posted to Ascension Rotaract's YouTube page, and I believe we can drop the link for that as well. I see a question here. Someone is asking if the dues start on January 1st, 2023, that it will be until June 30th. So will dues increase in the following year?
Yes, so the due structure there's formal communication that came out from our colleagues from club and district support through district governors and district governors elect to really inform that the due structure will start 1 July, but we really need the information coming in as soon as possible, like right now. So I'm really happy that we're doing, and the MDIOs and the Rotaract committees are doing this particular hands-on My Rotary training just to get the information in, especially in North America, where there are a lot of university-based or college-based clubs, and most of those senior students are graduating now. So we need to have that information in as much as possible. So if we have some Rotaractors that are starting college in August, at least we'd have some persons there already keyed in who can update their information going through to August, September, October to have a real correct membership count come 1 July. So it's so important to update the information now, especially if you're a university or college-based club. Try and key some information in so that at least come August, someone is there in your club entered who can update your information going forward. That's very, very critical, especially for our university and our college-based clubs.
Yeah, great point. It's always a good idea to start reporting now. Even if you have a little bit of time, as soon as you can get things input, the better. It's going to help everybody out and you'll ensure consistency there. Yeah. I think this is actually our last question. We have some about the Rotary magazine, if that will be coming along with these changes.
That, I guess I will go ahead and say that's a fantastic question, but I don't have an answer to that. I think that's still to be determined. I'm happy to follow up with my colleagues on that and provide the information to the MDIOs who have put on such a fantastic session tonight. They will continue to give you excellent information on this topic going forward. So I'll be sure to share it with the MDIOs once I get that answer, and they'll get that information out to you as soon as possible.
Harris, you've just got the information. The good thing is, unlike Rotarians, there's no policy that requires a Rotaract member to subscribe to the official magazine at this time or one of the regional magazines. However, Rotaractors are currently offered a free subscription to the digital version of the Rotary magazine, and they're encouraged to do so.
Yeah, I read my digital version every month. I love it. Thank you all so much for sharing your expertise here tonight. We really appreciate it. And I know that there may have been some questions or topics that we didn't have time for. Before we close out, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us tonight and give you the opportunity to fill out a quick survey. It'll be linked in the chat to provide feedback on any other questions you might have that we didn't answer, or additional training you'd be interested in learning a little bit more about, like DACDB, Club Runner, finances for Rotaract, or any other topic. We so appreciate you taking the time to provide that feedback. And with this, I will pass it over to Taylor.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luna. And thank you to our wonderful speakers this evening, Barry, Alicia, Audley, and Harris. Thank you all for lending your time and your expertise to us, to each of us this evening. Our team would also like to share a special thank you to the North American Rotary Zones for their support and guidance for this training session, as well as our behind the scenes tech leads, Patrick Eakes and Terry Weaver, for making the magic happen. We are so grateful to each of you for your ongoing support. As we mentioned at the beginning of this event, the recording for this session will be shared on the Ascension Rotaract Network YouTube channel in the coming days. Make sure to keep an eye on the YouTube channel as well as your emails for that link. And we encourage you to share and use the recording as a resource as you update your club and district information for the upcoming Rotary Year. If you do need additional My Rotary support, we encourage you to contact any of the following individuals for assistance: data@rotary.org, rotaract@rotary.org, for your respective district, zone, or MTIO leaders, again, which are listed on the screen there. As Luna mentioned, the link to a quick feedback survey was sent in the chat. We would really appreciate your feedback on any unanswered questions and topics that our team can focus on in future training sessions and also follow up with each of you on. Well, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in for this My Rotary Reporting for Rotaract training event. We look forward to supporting and working with each of you in the coming months. Thank you so much and happy reporting.